WretroMania Pro Wrestling Podcast Network is a Moonsault Media Production and is intended for private use only. For more information, contact retromaniapodcast@gmail.com.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to On the Heels, presented to you by the WretroMania Pro Wrestling Podcast Network, a retrospective pro wrestling podcast network where we romanticize, fantasize, watch, and review your favorite or not so favorite storylines, matches, events, and or feuds and shows now from your pro wrestling past or history or present. This is On the Heels, again, presented to you by the original hosting squad, Coby, Nida. And as always, I am joined here with Jimmy Price.
Thank you so much for having me back, especially after I fell asleep before we were supposed to record last night, because it's been real dad hours for both of us, and I tapped out last night around 9 o'clock, and sorry, but yeah, we're here now. So
you got put in the million dadder dream.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we said last week, it ran a little long because we were tired and it was late, and we got to do what we can. We want to keep consistent with you guys, and we want to be dedicated to reviewing this series. So we're going to do what we can. It's early tonight, so
yes,
we're here recording this on
fully awake. Yeah, we have a mission statement, which is to make the podcast, to make the recap podcast shorter than the actual episode of the show. So that's what we're going for this time around.
Exactly.
We're wide awake. We're good. That's also the subplot of this podcast is like, can two dads with a 3-year-old and a newborn, can they put a weekly podcast out? Can it be done?
Yes, exactly. Focusing on the show that's coming out in real time. Yes. And we were saying analog. We both really enjoyed this episode. You said this was your favorite episode.
Correct? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, start to finish. I mean, it's pretty gripping, man. I think in terms of the character development and the story and the performances that are turned in are all top notch. And then also just from looking at it from the wrestling fans' perspective. This episode just pretty much centers around one show, and you get a lot of before and after with the show. So it's been my favorite episode so far, so I'm definitely excited to talk about it.
Absolutely. And you can hear where we started at episode 1 and episode 2 in the archives, and plenty more in the illustrious archive of WretroMania by searching WretroMania with a W on any podcasting platform. Podbean is our home. We have over 360 episodes there and over 500 hours of content for your ears. It's ridiculous. I mean, we built this, you and I, and now everybody's on there. We got Cool Truth with AC talking AEW news, some New Japan news. We got Kicking Out at 2 with Dave Rosenbluth.
Yes.
He's got a bunch of topics always, it's very like a smorgasbord of your old school wrestling topics and what ifs or could be's or Mount Rushmores. Always a great show there. And then you got our show, The Origin of Attitude. Then you have Marking Out the Days as well. There's so much there. There's Hulkamania is Dead. There's so much bonus content as well. So
yes.
Check that out. And it's all evergreen. So don't ever think, I'm going to listen to this and it's going to sound like whatever. Like they all flow congruently, because it's always like a sit down, like talking with a friend about wrestling and having some wrestling knowledge mixed in there with history content. Check that out. WretroMania with the W on any podcasting platform, Spotify, Google Play, iTunes. Give us a like, share, subscribe. It helps us grow. And if you want to request anything, you can go on retromaniapodcast@gmail.com and write to us, or you can hit us up on Facebook in our messages or DMs. So anything there, we are welcome to everything. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So without further ado, let's get into this episode. This is episode 3, Cheap Heat of Heels on the Stars platform. We start out the show with Tom Spade being introduced finally.
Yes, yeah, we see Tom for the first time, and he's going about his morning routine. Man, he's out for a jog. He's comes back to the house. Kind of hoses off a little bit, and he starts doing some work. I thought it was this first scene. This first chunk of it was an interesting juxtaposition to the end of episode 2, because you basically see Tom taking care of business like around the home front. Whereas like last episode ended with Jack not getting shit done to the point where Stacy had to step in and kill the raccoons and cut the grass. So I thought going from that, the ending of episode 2, to this was sort of an interesting juxtaposition there.
Absolutely. And then he hangs a sign. I don't know if this has any significance yet, but it says Carol's Garden, and it's a garden house there. And then he goes to the back patio and he sees a deer in the backyard near some of the gardening area that they have. And what happens next here?
Oh, all right, yeah. So and they put a warning up at the top of this as content related to suicide. So you knew something was coming, and there'd been allusions to it in previous episodes. But yeah, so he sees the deer. He goes inside. He grabs a handgun, and I'm not a gun person. I'm guessing it's looks like maybe it's smaller. It's like a 9mm, maybe. I don't know these things, but it's a handgun, and nonetheless pistol of some sort. And so you think he's going to try to shoot the deer with this thing, but he steps out on the porch, takes a look out, and puts the gun under his chin and kills himself right there. And as he's walking back out of the house with the gun, prior to that, you see that that Ace is just hanging out in his room, and so he shoots himself. He collapses, falls forward off of the porch, and Ace, of course, comes out to see what was going on with the gunshot, and he looks down and he sees his dad there. And I thought that the performance here was really, like, it gave me chills, and I thought it goes back to sort of we talk about realism in the show in terms of like the dialogue and stuff, and it could have been like, in a lot of shows it would have been like an over dramatic like scream or something like that. Mm-hmm. But in this case, you just see him like look down and start shaking, and it felt so real, and it was very, very jarring to see. And it's crazy because it makes a point of having those like first few minutes where he's just like going about his routine, man. He's like does the jogs, doing the work. Yeah, go ahead.
No, and then what sets him off? Like I don't know.
It's just like like seeing a deer. Like what about that pushed him over the edge? Like to just one straw that
they had a deer stand before when times got hard.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's a good point.
Must be something going on with that there, and it's really it ties into wrestling lore about like Von Erichs, related with suicide. So we talk about how this show ties in with history and wrestling, and it's got little splices of everything, little pieces of the pie, if you will. And that was honestly one of the most dramatic scenes that we've been presented from the show, and like really like will catch you,
absolutely, yeah,
catch anybody,
yeah, and it adds, sort of explains a lot about Ace and his, where he's at in his life. And the other thing too is this is, they allude to it being like a year ago, so it's not like this was something from their childhood that was like buried and it's coming to the surface now. This was a year ago, so it's just it's pretty crazy to have that part of the story filled in and kind of get some more context.
Yeah, absolutely. Next scene, we see the new guy. I forget his name again, but he's shown that he's working at a strip club, and he's talking to his parents about he's going to be on the main event of the card, or at least like one of the matches on the card. So he's proud of that. Not too much to talk about there.
Sunday Night Stars gotta check the box, gotta get the nudity in there
Yeah,
right off the bat, you know.
at the strip club. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we get a crosscut to Ricky Rabies on the phone with Jack Spade while Jack Spade is in the car, and he's talking to Ricky Rabies. And explain who Ricky Rabies is here.
So Ricky Rabies, portrayed by one Phillip Brooks, also known as CM Punk. Coby, do you feel like talking about him for like a half hour?
Yeah.
I'm down.
Shit, we did that last.
Yeah. Thank you for everybody who listened and bared with. I mean, I think it was a good conversation about Punk, but yeah, we definitely veered off course.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we see Ricky Rabies. He's the kind of like the stereotypical grizzled young veteran, as it were, on the scene. And you see in very short order that he's having this business conversation with Jack. Jack's bringing him in to kind of pop the crowd a little bit. And because Big Jim, I think, was, he's just left. Maybe he was advertised. But yeah, you see that Ricky in all his mulleted glory is on the toilet. So he's having a conversation about the show, and he's letting him know he's going to be there. And
we always love at the Dome.
Yeah.
Classic.
So he's got some
people, got
some history with DWL. Yeah. So
they have a little conversation about blood being used too. And Jack doesn't want blood being involved, but Ricky was like, "No, I'll explain it to you when I get there. It's not real blood. It's show blood."
And does he ever? the weirdness of this character is very endearing. As we'll see, he's got a very elaborate ring entrance that we'll get into later.
Yeah, absolutely. We get then Jack pulling up to the building. He gives some kid a box of shirts and says, "Hand this out at the door." And I guess they're like Ricky Rabies shirts or something. I don't know, to like sell that they have merch or something, that people are buying merch. Maybe that's a little tell right there. But then we immediately get Millie, the business manager, the building manager that helps Jack Spade, she is walking in the locker room, and she sees another lady bringing up some new shirts, and talks about merch. And she was like, "Did I give you a purchase order for those?" And she was like, "Yes." And she was like, "How did I sound?" And she was like, "It was late. You were tired." ... So they're burning the candle at both ends in this business. They're trying to bring crowds, they're trying to work the crowd as well, and their merch as well, as you should. I mean, we see Impact still, people have shirts, and it's like, nobody bought all those damn shirts there, but
right.
Anything there?
All those Impact shirts went to Dystopian Wrestling,
Yeah, right.
For all the Spare Abyss and Samoa Joe and Judas Messiah shirts.
Exactly.
Yeah, just a cool little scene. And I like Christy McCormick, who plays Willie. Just it's a very funny little beat there she takes when she's like, "Okay, I got you. I was hammered."
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She was on Amazon just ordering merch for the company,
Yeah.
Okay, so
or more fog machines.
Yeah. And GoPros. Next scene, we have Ace working on his promo behind the curtain, and Crystal says it's good, but it's a little too positive. And then Jack says, "I wouldn't change a thing." But then Ace says, "Well, I have some ideas with the promo myself. How about instead of this, I say that?" And they're talking about good triumphing over evil. The words here that Ace says is like, good will always triumph over evil. And Jack says, "No, it doesn't. No, it won't." Like, who says that?
Yeah.
Any insight there?
Yeah, I mean, I love the writing and the scene, and I think Jack says, evil's got a shit ton in the trophy case. And yeah, it just kind of highlights the level of cynicism with each of them. And I mean, a lot of that comes with age and growing up. Ace is still, I don't know if they specified exactly how young he is, but he's in his early 20s at the oldest. And so he's still got that streak of hope in him. And Jack just kind of kind of shits all over it. But yeah, I think Ace overall is like he's crafting this promo, and in terms of its content, it's a good babyface promo. But what they're trying to warn him about, I guess, and throughout the episode is that after what happened, with him breaking down in the ring and in this type of environment in this crowd, there's not a lot of coming back from that. Particularly with the promotion where you're outside of a show in a Golden Corral or Old Country Buffet or a Waffle House or something.
Yeah.
It's the same venue. It's mostly the same people. So, but he's like hell bent on not getting booed. And I thought it was really cool too about when Jack walks up and he's like, I wouldn't change anything. You get that Vince vibe, that promoter vibe of just like, I'm gonna steer. You're gonna end up going this way, but I'm gonna kind of inflate your confidence a little bit here.
Absolutely. We had said that in the previous episode too. There's little hints of everything there. Ace goes over the finish with Jack, and Jack kind of apologizes in a way. He says, I'm kind of sorry about the way the match went down. But he tells Ace, you could spend your whole life in developmental over there and they can crush you. They're a company. They're going to tell you what to do. And you can make it here and be a hero. You don't need them. It's a big tell about like, don't go to the big company and just stay here and be a hometown hero and carve a name for yourself and be a legend here. Kind of reminiscent to their father, I guess, because I don't know if the father ever made it big time because he started his own wrestling league,
Exactly. Yeah. And the line he uses too is he says, you'll go up there and you could be in developmental for years and you'll just be a pawn in their game versus being a partner and having that power to sort of build a company. He's talking about building something with DWL. Yeah. So just kind of giving him the hard sell. He's trying to steer him back to sticking with the family territory.
Yeah. And then the next scene here, it's a interaction between Jack and Millie. Jack is he's sure that people want to see Ace as a face, but she's mad that he made him cry. He said, I didn't make him do anything. Which is kind of but he's like, well, this is kind of part of the story. We turn what is real into kayfabe. We make it part of the story. What happened with them in the last episode where he tapped him out,
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought this was a very insightful and good piece of or a good thought about like the inside of the business, and it's very like reflective of like where we are now, because everybody knows so much about the inside of the business. So it's like you kind of have to flip it, so it's to not necessarily only with shoots, but just when you lead people to expect one thing and then kind of swerve them a little bit. I just thought it was a nice little breakdown there.
Yeah, absolutely. We go backstage to Millie and Jack, who meet with the minister, and they have a conversation about the minister not having advertising on the show. And Jack kind of bullshits a Bible quote, which is awesome. Do you remember that little bit there?
I forget exactly what he says, but he's like, I love when he's like, there's so many good ones.
Yeah, there's so many good Bible psalms or quotes.
Yeah. So many psalms.
Yeah. And the guy, Eddie Earl, is the minister. He has a pawn and title company that he wants advertised. And he's talking about, what if you take up the whole apron? And he said, I can see it now, and he kind of reminds Jack of who he is and humbles him and says, why don't you sing my old theme song, like you used to as a kid, because I used to advertise for your pop. And that was pretty funny. He was like, if you need, or if their times are tough, come on down and sell some stuff. Eddie Earls. Yeah.
So he's got a tap dance. And I thought for sure that we'll get into the entrance with Ricky Rabies later, but I thought they were setting something up where is going to be like a Kurt Angle at ECW situation where these people will be so offended. That doesn't come to pass, but I'm sure that we haven't seen the last of these people, I feel like.
Absolutely. We cross cut to the wife of Jack Spade. I'm blanking on the name. I usually have my
Stacy.
Yep. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yep.
Stacy. And she's going to have a get together with her girls. And then we cross cut to the newcomer. And I don't know his name. I'm slacking right now. Who's the new guy again?
Are we talking about Dipshit?
Yes. Dipshit.
Yeah. Who's Dipshit? I will say this, Dipshit kind of had a nice redemption. This is Wild Card McGee.
Wild Card McGee.
I think Nigel Crocker, or am I looking at somebody else?
He is. I guess that is him. Yeah.
Yeah, shouldn't have bet a little bit here myself, but yeah, I think that's him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nigel Crocker.
Anyhow, he gets iced in the back, and getting iced, we know, is having a Smirnoff hidden, and then you have to chug it in front of everybody. So Rooster had done that to him. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Theme throughout the episode, and kind of brings you back to like the early part of the 2010s, because I haven't really heard of anybody getting iced in a while. But yeah,
the show is based in like 2008. You know.
Yeah, that could be.
Before Ace Spade, that is able to walk into the locker room, Crystal stops him and says, before you go in there, whatever happens, nobody's going to say anything. And then he gets iced right when he walks in.
Yeah. He's like, he kind of like shrugs off what Crystal is saying too. And he's like, yeah, whatever, I got this. And then sure enough, they just, Diego kind of welcomes him back in with the main event ice. And so like it's a warm embrace, but then we go straight into a little bit of conflict with Rooster, who's pissed off that he's not in the main event.
Absolutely. And Rooster had the same comments last episode, and he's been around for a while. He's one of the most talented guys, and he thinks he's being held down. He questions Ace's boots quality because he says there's no scuffs on them, and you know what that means. And what does that essentially mean? Usually you're not taking bumps, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you're not taking the bumps, and as Jack describes it later, not being a good partner in the ring. But yeah, Ace is so young and new to the game that it just like so much of what Rooster says to him in this episode, it just goes right over his head.
Yeah, absolutely. The next scene here is Ace and Jack meeting Ricky Rabies and his family, and Crystal is actually there joining them. And what happens here?
Yeah, so Ace kind of hits him with a little backhand compliment. He says, "Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, you used to draw so much here." And but Ricky Rabies takes it in stride. He's very chill, again, grizzled young vet type. So they're kind of going back and forth there for a little bit, and then Ricky's lady friend excuses herself to go make the blood, and kind of tells Crystal to come, or asks Crystal to come with her. Kind of like, and again, it's like all the women around the locker room are kind of pulling Crystal one way towards, what the traditional woman's role is in a pro wrestling locker room. When it's obvious, she obviously wants to, wrestle, and she wants to be, more involved that way, and sort of in even the creative aspect of it too, with that scene with Jack last week. But yeah, she just kind of gets pulled aside, and they continue to talk a little bit of business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really cool. This little scene here, talking about the blood, and it connects us to them and you.
Yeah.
And Ricky Raby's son is named Wolfgang, which is a nice cool thing there. And awesome job on the makeup, because fucking CM Punk Phil Brooks is covered with tattoos, And
Yeah, I noticed
tell
that.
he has any tattoos. And it like I didn't even notice it until the end where he's wrestling, and I was like, hold on a second. I just realized he
Yeah,
doesn't have any tattoos on. I was like, holy shit. They did a great.
yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever it was, or it was makeup or however they did it, like it was very impressive because it was like, yeah, I had the same reaction when once you saw him in the ring. You're like, where's that fucking Pepsi tattoo, man?
Right.
And in addition to the rest of his extensive work, but yeah, it was interesting. I love like him like just rapping about the blood. It's like, yeah, he calls it like it's like thing more like a sacrament, and
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
it's just like this really weird shit, but it's like he talks about it in such like a casual way. It's like it's just it's a cool vibe.
Absolutely. Then the family leaves. Jack tells Ace to focus on his match, make sure that the fans cheer you. Tells Crystal, she thinks maybe they should boo him, but Jack says just have faith in me. Just trust me.
Mhm.
And then Jack and Ace have the conversation about what does scuffed boots mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it means not being a good partner in the ring.
right, exactly. Not taking the bumps, not helping them out. Cross cut to the women's night out, and the waiter knows who Stacy is and talks to her about the big event tonight, and he's stoked. He knows who Jack Spade and Ace Spade are, and the ladies are the friends of Stacy are like, well, let's they coax her into going to the show, right?
Yeah, they're intrigued. They want to check it out. You tell us like Stacey's trying to escape that whole that whole world, and that comes very much in focus at the end. But yeah, she's listening to them talk about their lives and all the things they're doing, and she's trying to get away from it. But they're intrigued by the world of wrestling, and they go and like at first you're like what the I was wondering going into it what their reaction would be. Are they going to shit all over it? Or is it going to be an embarrassment, or what the reaction is going to be? Because there's always that like apprehension, right, when you're bringing like non-wrestling fans, like if you're going to a show or even just watching it on TV, like what their reaction is going to be. So but they are into it, so they're going to head out to the show, and so what would be an escape for Stacy ends up not being a total escape.
Yeah, absolutely. She's back to her life, back to reality, which is actually not reality because it's wrestling. Interesting,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Wild.
yeah.
Wild. So then
Wild stuff.
then we go to the event, and the minister and his lady or his wife are looking to have a good time, or they're seemingly having a good time watching the event. And then we go to the bathroom with Rooster pissing, and he ends up getting iced by Wildcard McGee, with the Smirnoff being in the urinal. So not the smartest of choices there. What a dumb scene, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, more dipshit being dipshit, but it's kind of like he's like trying to like I could do this too, guys, right? Like he's trying to fit in, but he even picks it up out of the urinal too, even though it was with the paper towel. I was like, oh my god,
Yeah, absolutely.
that was pretty gross.
After that, we get the a little juxtaposition, and or a little exposition rather, with Rooster, Apocalypse, and who's the masked man?
Diego Cottonmouth.
Diego Cottonmouth. I'd like to call them the three wise enhancement men.
Yeah,
Enhanced men. So they kind of give you a little talk here. Any anything significant from that scene?
I'll be honest, nothing has jumped it out at me in terms of what they're talking about. I mean, is it Rooster? He's still talking about the main event, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like he's hot about that. Yeah. And is this where he catches Jack as he's walking out, or is that later?
That is later.
Gotcha. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So then we go to backstage with Crystal and Ricky Raby's wife, the scene that you were kind of talking about earlier. And from there, we see Ace rubbing himself down with body oil, and he tells or asks Crystal to help him rub down, or she kind of, initiates it. And they have a little conversation there.
Yeah, and that's like one of the things that Ricky Raby's friend was talking about, was just, sometimes you just need a shoulder rub. And so so that's her just kind of like trying to assimilate into what this role she thinks should be.
She doesn't seem to like it though. He kind of adjusts her bra and her, her whole outfit and like tells her
Yeah,
to turn around, and then she's like, okay, that was kind of whatever.
yeah, not feeling it.
Next scene, Ace's wife, Stacy, and her friends, they are able to make it to the event. They're coming in just as I'm Ace's wife, Jack's wife. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
just as
Not
Ace.
yet.
Yeah, I know. Just as Ace is coming out with Crystal, and the friends there say, "Ooh, he's sexy. He's kind of like a dirty Thor."
Yeah, and they were kind of impressed walking in too. They think one of them said that Stacy was underplaying it. So yeah, they're there to have a good time, and they do. So yeah, they're interesting to see like Stacy kind of just smile at that one. We'll see what if anything ends up happening, like we were talking about. But yeah, they're there, and they're just taking it all in.
Yeah, absolutely. Ace cuts his promo, and then gets told that he's a crybaby. And Ace still tries to cut a face promo, and he gets trash thrown at him in the ring. The fans are chanting "Crybaby, crybaby." They have a big blow up head of him with tears. Somebody made that pretty quick, huh? In the town, they
Yeah,
were printing at the local, DWL printing place or whatever, or maybe
right.
or maybe Jack planted that.
Right.
But yeah, Ace comes backstage and he's enraged. Anything from this little bit here?
So did you notice who was the woman who called him out as being a crybaby and threw the first pack of tissues? Did you see who that was?
The t-shirt girl.
I thought it was. I might be wrong. I thought it was the woman at the grocery store from the first episode.
Oh,
Who
you're
he?
right.
Yeah, I'm like 99% sure that was who it was, and like yeah, she's there and she's the one who starts it. So she gets a
Okay.
little bit of revenge there, which is cool. But yeah, he's his whole idea of telling this redemption story and cutting this awesome babyface promo, just everything just collapses on him. And yeah, he's getting the old Jimmy Rave treatment, except with tissues instead of toilet paper.
Yeah. So Ace comes backstage enraged, and Jack tells him, "You're an amateur hour out there because you don't know the difference between heat." Great scene here.
Great scene. Yeah, Jack's heated. And I love the line where he says, "Generating heat is your fucking job."
Right.
And like that, isn't that what it boils down to, man? That's as a wrestler, like he's trying to tell him, he's taking all these boos personally, but you should be leaning into it. And he says it right in that scene. He says, "You'd make a great heel." And but he's Ace just continues to throw his tantrum.
Yeah. Ace and Jack are arguing about their dad being a face or a heel, and
Oh yeah.
he says Tom Spade was a face, and Jack Spade's response is, "Oh yeah, our dad was a face because he knew you were home?" Question
Yeah.
mark. Like insinuating the
Right.
suicide to become a martyr for the family. I
Yeah.
don't know. That was pretty deep.
Yeah, or just making that decision knowing that your son is there and it's going to be the one to find you. Like
Yeah.
yeah. That was killer scene. Killer scene. I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. We cross cut to Apocalypse and Cottonmouth having their match, and Stacy and her friends are enjoying the event, despite what just happened. So they don't really see that the aggression is there, or what happened with Ace is actually something that he's affected by, because we go backstage to Ace losing his shit in the laundry room, and Crystal comes to calm him down, Daddy.
Yeah.
It stars.
Yeah, gotta get it in, man. That was the Stars slogan there for a while.
Yeah.
It was Skinamax and then Stars. Gotta get it in.
Got to get it in at least twice an episode. We need
Yeah.
clips. Yeah, so then we go to Ricky Rabies talking with Jack Spade about the pre-match stuff. What's going on there?
Yeah, so they're going over the match, and Ricky suggests that he finishes the match with the inverted DDT. And again, no ego or anything from Ricky Rabies. He's there to do the job, and he's happy to do it. But yeah, he says he doesn't want to be put in the sharpshooter because the last time he was put in the sharpshooter, he shit his pants. Which is funny because there's the infamous story of Punk one time
shitting his pants.
Yeah, he shot his pants on SmackDown and then tweeted about it.
Like moved his turd, right? Is that
so I don't know. I never heard like the story in that much detail. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, things happen out there. But yeah, I knew that like immediately after it happened, he tweeted about it. So I thought that was a funny little callback.
Yeah, absolutely. We go to Rooster catching Jack Spade in the hallway, and this is the scene I think you were talking about. What happens here?
Yes. So Jack, Rooster, wants to talk to him, and he's been trying to talk to him, and Jack knows before he says anything that he's pissed off because of the main event spot and him not being in the main event. And he just kind of Jack just starts, running down, the reasons why, and he talks about how great Rooster is, and he says he's the best one here. And then Rooster says, well, if I'm the best here, then I get a shot at the belt. And Jack said, yeah, that's right, when the story calls for it.
Yeah. Something about a personality too, right?
Yeah, personality.
And it's kind of like a reference to like Vince McMahon making the black athletes kind of be the shucking and jiving and dancing in a way. I think.
No, absolutely. That's what they're going for with that. And I mean, that was especially, across the wrestling industry. I mean, that was the stereotype, and then sort of the way that bookers operated for a long time, and I mean still do to this day to a certain extent in a lot of cases. So
WWE has taken that initiative a bit, not to get too off track. I mean, 183 days plus for Bobby Lashley being the longest reigning African-American heavyweight champion in the United States. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, that is awesome. And he got to beat up Goldberg's son too. So that was great.
That's even better. I'll kill you.
I'll kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we get back to the event. Stacy and the friends are talking there. They're enjoying the event. Jack Spade comes out and he becomes the huge heel. He challenges anybody in the back, and all of a sudden Vanguard 1, or I'd like to call it Stone Age 1, comes out. It's this drone that is essentially dressed with the taxidermy vibe of what is that a raccoon?
I was gonna ask you.
I think it's a possum.
I think it was a possum too, and if it is, that is
and it's flown by his son. So this is almost like an homage to Matt Hardy, right?
Yeah. I think there's definitely some Hardy vibes there. It is funny if it's a possum. I don't know if the irony is intentional or not, but
I'm watching it right.
But like possums, just for the record, rabies are extremely rare with possums because they're actually have lower body temperature compared to other warm-blooded animals, and they're very very special creatures, possums. But he's flying the drone, the possum drone out there, and like Jack is just kind of looking at it, and it's kind of eye to eye with the possum. And then what happens after that?
Blood spurts out. It's that pasta sauce blood, man. What did he add salt or sugar to it? Like, what was the purpose of that?
There must have been something to like thicken it up a little bit or what. But yeah, it's just all at once, just like in the face, and Jack's got the crimson mask to start out the match.
Yeah, absolutely. And then how does this match kind of go?
So it's a damn, like, I would love to see like an unedited cut of this, because I mean, like we've talked about before, how Stephen Amell has the chops, and he's wrestled on pay-per-views, and we all know how great CM Punk is. And if you want to hear us talk about that for 30 minutes, please listen to episode 2. But the back and forth between them and the in-ring action is really damn good. And it kind of gives you a brief idea of the story, and then they're brawling, and I think they are near where the they show a shot of them brawling near where the sponsors are, right? The church people.
Yes.
At one point, and I thought for sure something was going to happen there, but again, nothing happens. Preacher's having a good old time. But they're just kind of Ricky's getting some offense in for a while, and then eventually Jack gets the upper hand. And do they cut to Stacy and?
Well, we cross cut to the women enjoying it, but then we cross cut during the match to Apocalypse seeing on his phone Wild Bill naked with the championship belt. And Wild Bill was the friend of Tom Spade, and he's going crazy on the phone. And then we see Ace and Rooster backstage looking at the video. They're outside smoking. Ace is vaping. Of course he would. So yeah, what happens here? They're just kind of talking about Wild Bill, and then they're talking about about the conflict between each other, and Rooster wants to be over, and Ace is the guy, but he doesn't think he's the one. Rooster says, "I moonsaulted my way out of the womb," which I love that little line there. And then he says, "You just cried in the ring, man." Like what? Tell me what happens here.
Yeah, then Ace tries to explain it again, and Rooster's like, "No, you cried in the ring," which again, in Duffy, that's there's no coming back from that. I think he says that bird won't fly or something like that, and so Rooster's kind of going on. And he talks about how he's not getting the push, and he says something. He's talking about Jack, and so like in Ace's mind, he's like, oh yeah, we're on the same page. We're talking shit about Jack and his booking, and him not doing the right thing. But like Rooster comes out and basically says, flat out, it's because he's not getting the belt because he's black. And Ace is like, yeah, man, I know exactly what you mean. And it's just like, and Rooster's like, you're fucking hilarious, man.
Right.
Just completely oblivious to what the real reason is as to why, or what Rooster is trying to explain to him. Ace is just not comprehending it on any level.
Yeah, absolutely. We get the next scene, or cross-cutting back to the finish of the match between Jack Spade and Ricky Rabies. It looks like Ricky hurts himself, and he says something about his ACL. But he says, all right, we're going home. Jack hits his finisher like they spoke of. He puts his feet on the ropes to keep himself a heel. And 1, 2, 3, he pins Ricky Rabies, and his music hits, and it's like it's Hardcore Holly's theme, right?
Yeah, it is. Which I think was also like the first Tough Enough theme, if I'm not mistaken, too. It's a classic. And I like puts the feet on the ropes, keeps him over as a heel. Also, kind of protects Ricky Rabies too, there, brother. He gets the W, and then heads backstage, and immediately he's looking for Ace because he's supposed to be up next against Dipshit. And,
yeah, absolutely.
So he's trying to track him down. Finally finds him, and they share some words, and you can kind of see that Ace is high. And he's like, "Are you good?" And I forget what Ace's response is. He says something.
Appears, and he says, "Are you afraid I'm gonna go off script?"
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, which is just a killer line.
Yeah. So then the bell rings and the match starts. Jack's wife goes backstage, but gets bumped into by Apocalypse. And it's a very serious situation. Looks like Ace is taking some stiff shots by the newcomer in the ring. He's hurting him,
Yeah, very aggressive from the outset. Aggressive, right from his entrance, just storming down the ring. And yeah, he's like, laying him in there, and eventually he goes and hits the low blow, which that confirms, solidifies the heel turn to
Yep.
everybody. Everybody who in the locker room who's kind of curious is like, is this actually happening like this? Like, that seals the deal.
Yeah. And Jack's wife, understands that Ace just turned heel, and nobody else kind of understands. They're like, what's going on? But he grabs chloroform or some type of bandage and shoves it in the newcomer's mouth to become a heel. And Crystal is really starting to soak this in. Looks like her idea is starting to stick with Ace, rather, and it seems to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see that she's kind of getting more into the match as she realizes what's happening, and for that matter, so is the rest of the crowd. Like it's kind of like those things. Like, all right, it's like the classic, Rocky Maivia. You want to boo me? I'm going to give you a fucking reason to boo me. It's that kind of heel turn. So it was pretty cool, and they capture it really well. I felt like.
Yeah, the fans are booing, and he's the newest heel in town, kind of begrudgingly, but he wanted to do that when it comes down to it. Ace comes back behind the curtain and says to Crystal, "Get the fuck off me. What do you think, I'm your boyfriend?" And he says to Willie, "Fuck you, bitch." He's like turned full heel, and Jack says, "All right, let's go outside." And not being in front of everybody. And he says, "What the hell are you doing?" He says, "I'm a heel now." He said, what goes on here?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, he's basically he's healing up in real life, which is something that my friends always told me when we were playing SmackDown versus Raw 2006, was to not be a piece of shit in real life, because I would sometimes get so into the game that I would like do heel shit, and that would just ruin the fun of the game. Shout out Dan and Kyle.
Hit the reset button during a match or something?
No, I was just I would do things like I would play as Hulk Hogan, and I would win all the belts in the game just to piss him off, because we were all smarky smarks and watching Ring of Honor. But there was like 4 different Hulk Hogans in the game, and I won a belt as each Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
And just like not tagging out when we did tag matches and stuff, just like being kind of slick back hair. Live for New Year's Eve, sloppy steaks down at Trefani. I was a real piece of shit.
Oh yes. You think this is slick back?
This is pushback. But yeah, no, yeah, Ace is just, it's like, what do you think? It shows you that he has like he knows how to work. He knows how to do cool moves and work a match to not like hurt somebody. But he doesn't have any understanding whatsoever of the business, and he's like using this idea of a heel turn in the storyline as some sort of license to be a piece of shit to Crystal and to Willie, which is just like where like, what planet are you on right now, man?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they always say a wrestling is a character turned up to 11. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
I mean, you got the adrenaline flowing and stuff out there, and so I mean, there's that. But yeah, it's just like it just continues to be. It's always something with Ace,
he's obviously angry. I mean, we can see
Yeah.
that too at the beginning of the episode. We kind of gain sympathy for him too. So I
Right,
don't think he's
absolutely.
so much of an
Yeah.
asshole. We
Yeah.
get cut to backstage. The ring crew is cleaning up everything, and the wrestlers are saying goodbye. Ricky Rabies is signing a shirt for Cottonmouth. Stacy is saying goodbye to her friends, and Ricky Rabies and his wife is having a little conversation with Crystal. Any takeaway from this?
So this is where the big reveal is that I kind of alluded to, and not that there's spoilers on a recap show, but this is where you find out that the woman that Ricky Rabies is with is not his actual wife, because Ricky's like, I got to get home to the wife, and she just kind of like turns to Crystal, and she's like, not all relationships are conventional. But yeah, it really kind of like the whole point of the interaction, I think, with her and Crystal throughout the episode is like, this is like the Crystal can see like, all right, this is where this path leads. Like, you get to be a part of the show. You get to, live in this crazy world, but it's all in the service of somebody else who isn't even like a full life partner with you.
Right.
So yeah, so she can kind of see like her future a little bit in this woman. So that kind of like, really nails that home a little bit with that interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we get a cross cut to a little bit of comic relief. The wild card McGee,
Yes.
ices Rooster, and that's actually like an authentic moment. I kind of giggled at that, and they're starting to break the ice with each other, if you will. Pun intended.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, it was a cool little moment. He's like, all right, he finally does it right. Yeah, like Rooster's like, I'm driving. He's like, take it home, take a video of yourself drinking it. I want to make sure that you chug the whole thing, or that sort of thing, whatever. Yeah, just a cool, very endearing moment. Like I said, with Dipshit, which I'll stop calling him Dipshit. With Wildcard, I think by the end of this episode, I was definitely kind of like more fond of his character than I had been at any point, especially with the next scene that we get at the water tower. I'm not sure if there's anything in between there.
Yeah, absolutely. 1 second there. Yeah, I forgot to mention too, when Ace was outside before he talked to Rooster about the Wild Bill scene, he went to go call Big Jim, but then he decided not to. A little sign there for Big Jim, and Big Jim was not in this episode, so I could be wrong.
So I think he's dead. That I honestly thought that at the end when I was done watching the episode. I'm like, I guess Coby's right. I guess Big Jim's dead. We just don't know yet.
Yeah. Okay, then we get a beautiful cinematography, like the lighting, everything, the venue, the dome, if you will, is shutting down. There was a nice little scene there with the lights going low, the end of the night, the crowd's gone. What happens in this empty building when it's just dormant? It's just filled with energy, though, by the look of it, and so many memories. When you see something like that, 2300 Arena, something like that.
Yeah, just that post-show buzz. They show people at the merch table and stuff, and we've been to shows at the MCW Arena, and it's kind of similar kind of vibe. You got wrestlers hanging out at the merch table. It's just kind of everybody's kind of buzzing, talking about the show. It was a nice little montage. I enjoyed that part too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we get a scene of Crystal in her house, and she chugs a beer by herself. And then we go to Willie meeting up with Wild Bill. Explain what's going on here.
So did she meet up with Wild Bill here, or is she? I know that they showed some stuff from the next episode in the preview.
Well, she Wild Bill, and he says, I fucked up real bad. And that's all we see. And we get a cross cut to Wild Card McGee on the.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I forgot that little shot was in there. Yeah.
He's calling his parents and he's telling them he loves them for supporting him, and he can't wait for them to see him in his new match. And he loves them, and he thinks they'll like the match a lot,
Yeah, he's on that high, man, that performer's high of just like, like especially the first time you go out and do something and you feel like you did a good job at it. Like, and he's on top of the water tower too. And he's like moving around a lot. I was like, oh no, are we on Dipshit Death Watch too? Like, is he about to fall off?
Yes. We've gotten 2 or 3 heartfelt moments on the water tower.
Yeah. Wonder if we're going to come back there for something more sinister down the road. Who knows?
Possibly. We cross cut to Jack Spade and Stacy. They're driving home, and she asks him, what about Machu Picchu? And he says something about it's a mountain in Argentina. And she's like, no, it's Peru, but whatever. So they want to go next month, but without Thomas. So just them. So that'd be interesting if they can get away. We learned that Jack is actually having a fear of flying, though. Another callback to wrestling. fears of flying, or excuses not to travel.
Yeah. And they talk about it. And it goes back to what he, in the last episode when he's trying to like kind of make things better with Stacy. He's like, hey, why don't we go on a vacation? And so Stacy's trying to plan a vacation, and now he's talking about DWL couldn't hold it up if we left for a month, and this and that. And so Stacy's just very unhappy, and it goes back to the theme of the last episode. And when they get home, they're talking, and Jack's like, I don't understand what's wrong. You get to hang out with your friends, you get to have some drinks and have a good time. And then Stacy says, yeah, but they all get to go home at the end of it, and they all get to leave this world.
Just like we were saying earlier, she lives in
exactly
the reality of this fakeness, or this kayfabe.
Yes. Yeah. And she was trying to get away from that with this night, and then the night ended up bringing her right back to it. So that just kind of and throughout the show there, the friends are talking about their lives and doing things like that, and it just kind of further kind of shows her how isolated she is in this wrestling world.
Absolutely, being the wife of a wrestler. Then we get the my closed caption said somber indie pop. Somber indie pop music played, and we cross cut.
That's why you bring in the guy from Band of Forces, man. That's what you want to deliver that. This was a different song, but still.
But I love his little accent. Love you, fear and war. That's like that's like a crazier accent than Dundalk people.
Right.
You don't know that, or Baltimore people do. You know what I'm talking about? Like going down here and watching the show at the MCW, the Joppas. He was down there in the Joppas.
He went to Japation. I can't do a good Baltimore accent.
Shit. So yeah, we cross cut to Ace by the tombstone. And he's just thinking about his dad. Then we go cross cut back to Jack walking out onto the deck and looking at the scuffs and the marks of where his father committed suicide. Man.
And he loses it. Yeah. So you start with, Jack, you start with Tom Spade and Tom's sorry, not Tom. Well, yeah, no, Tom, because the son's named after.
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, Tom Spade. Yeah, so you got the ghost of Tom Spade, looming large over, the entire episode, and yeah, it's just kind of like, something that's all, it's all when it comes crashing down, it hurts inside.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like you said, I think this is probably the best episode that they've done so far, all the way through. It didn't really have a lull in it at any.
Yeah.
There were beats every time. I had to watch this one at least 3 or 4 times to take some notes to have some cohesiveness. So I hope we didn't run too long, but this is a review show, so that's what we do here.
Yeah, and I think we're right on target. So yeah, there's a lot going on in this episode, so we don't want to neglect anything, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. What happens next, though? Where do we go from here? What the hell was that Wild Bill video? How is Ace going to continue to be recepted or not recepted as a heel? He said the name of the show too. In the show, he said, "You're a heel." I'm kidding, but yeah.
Ding.
Where how do Jack and Stacy work out this vacation and patch up their life, or their home life, as well as the business life? Any other questions from you, Jimmy? Like, what are you wondering?
When is Big Jim gonna die? When am I gonna be able to cash in on the bet that I placed? Because I have it on good authority that Big Jim is not long for the world of this show. I'm definitely looking forward to see how things continue to play out. Looking forward to seeing if there's any other veterans coming in. I wish I think it's it was a one-shot deal for old Ricky Rabies, but very enjoyable performance there by old CM. And yeah, so I'm interested to see who else kind of comes in. And we didn't really touch much on dystopian wrestling in this, so I'm sure they'll play a bigger role. And yeah, the self-destruction of Wild Bill Hancock next week. So
yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. We'll be halfway through the season, I think, after next week, because I think it's an eight episode run from what I'm seeing. So
yep.
Yeah, going to be very, very intrigued to see where we get from here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. A lot of moving parts, a lot of would be, could be, can be's. So it's a show that keeps you on your heels. Anyhow, all right. I'm done being a dad. Jimmy, have a good night. If anybody wants to rate, review, and share, subscribe, find us on iTunes. You can find us on Podbean with their illustrious archive. Like I said, every single episode there, and on Spotify, and on Google Play. Yeah, just follow with us, write to us at retromaniapodcast@gmail.com if you have any requests. Thank you again, Jimmy. So have a good night, and we'll catch you guys next week on the heels. Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that was perfect.